So today I just want to do a quick follow-up of a video that I did recently. I can't remember if it's the last one I did, but it was my little foreign policy analysis of the Iranian drone strike in Israel. And what I was explaining was that it's not going to kick off World War III, that these are limited engagements, that we are walking away from total war, and that we are headed back towards the warfare that we used to know from really the beginning of man to the modern period um, in the 20th century when total war kicked off. And I think that what's very interesting is that Israel has since then attacked again. They have attacked Iran. It's very unclear what the details are of that. Supposedly, they attacked uh, nuclear research areas, and this is that really is sort of the more um, flagrant and inflammatory actions that you would expect out of Israel at this point. And it's a shame. It's a shame. It shouldn't be happening, but it's going to continue. And I started wondering. I started thinking a little bit about the fact that Israel it's currently, it seems to be like it's in some kind of mania. And I had some thoughts about it because, of course, the obvious answer to why they would do this is that they are obviously trying to drag America back into a war in the Middle East. They want to destabilize the Arab world as much as possible. They consider the Arab world their enemy. They consider the entirety of Islam as their enemy, and they want, I hate to put it this way, but they want as many Arabs dead as possible over the coming years, which of course is not a long-term solution, right? This is not something that you negotiate for or make, you got to make friends at a certain point. I don't know what the hell they think they're going to do in the long run. If you want destabilization in the Middle East in the short run, I could understand that, honestly, especially in prior years. If that was sort of your game plan from, in the 1980s, the 1990s, back when you were fresh, the 50s, the 60s, fine. It's a temporary solution to the fact that they were being attacked, Israel, I mean. And okay, so be it. But at a certain point, we are so far down the line of Israel's history at this point that you do have to start asking the question, when do you start making friends with people? And they don't seem to want to ever. They only know one thing, and it's been bothering me because it doesn't make any sense. It's funny because I've been trying to figure out what the experts think on this. uh, I was watching an interview with John Mearsheimer, who is a foreign policy expert. I can't remember what university he's out of, but he's an academic, and he sort of came up with the realism theory of foreign policy, which was an attempt to debunk properly, in my opinion, the sort of neoliberal order that we see today. The neoliberalism that we see today from our own government, for example, it has more to do with like good actors and bad actors, right? That there are people that you want to be friends with because they are morally good, and that there are people that you want to be friends with because they were morally bad. So that's why you keep seeing a lot of like Putin bad, Ukraine good, right? Because you have to have that dichotomy in neoliberalism. But realism, uh, as put forward by John Mearsheimer, is the sort of more traditional sense that says, look, countries fight over things like resources and power, and they want stability and control over their regions, and so that can kick off into infighting amongst neighbors, and it really should be sort of limited engagements between militaries in which people face off and then stop. It's sort of a request for the return to normalcy and rationality, and sort of a corporatism in nation states that says we have to fight sometimes, but when we do, let's keep it to a bare minimum. We don't have to make this out about a crusade every single time, which is what we've been doing for the last God knows how many decades. It was. I think we've been doing it ever since Vietnam, really, where we can't help but see good guys and bad guys everywhere we look, and sometimes, and of course, it just let me put it like this: we are always the good guys, right? That's in neoliberalism, the standard floor of any foreign policy is that we as Americans are the good guys, and then we work up from there, right? Everybody else is held to a standard of Americanism, and if they fail that, then we don't work with them, or we may even try to kill them. That's neoliberalism versus realism. And John Mearsheimer himself, who has studied all of these countries very in great depth at this point, and has a book out about the Israeli lobby, has no idea what they're doing. He has no idea what Israel is doing, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him, because none of this makes sense. And the thing is, I don't think that this can be explained anymore via normal human impetuses. I don't think that people I don't think Israelis are acting on a kind of rationality, or because even there was a time when I thought maybe they were, that maybe what this was ultimately was a strategy that they had evolved, where there was some kind of 4D chess move in play. I don't think that's what this is anymore. And what this is starting to look like to me, and this is a bit of a stretch, I will admit. I would love to hear what you guys think about this, because I don't know how else to explain this. This is starting to look like narcissistic personality disorder of a country. I hate to say that, because honestly, I think NPD as a personality disorder is overused as an explanation for things. You hear it a lot from people, especially women now. The common refrain is that every woman out there, every single one of her boyfriends or ex-boyfriends it turned out they were all narcissists. Oh man, I've gone from narcissist to narcissist to narcissist. And I always thought, no, come on, there's a better reason, I'm sure, why your relationships aren't working out. Not everybody is a narcissist out there, but there are certain things going on in this particular case that are shooting off red flags to me. I did a video a while back discussing and analyzing the famous ring cam video of Steven Crowder yelling at his wife and effectively acting like a covert narcissist. And when I was doing my analysis of Ben Shapiro's sort of Israeli game plan, one of the things that kicked off to me this entire idea was the fact that there was a lot of transference going on in what Ben Shapiro was saying. Now, Ben Shapiro it's very possible that he's just a liar, right? That he is saying whatever he needs to say. He's a very smart guy, and he's trained as an attorney. And there's a good possibility that all he's doing is arguing for his client. And his client, Israel, requires him to say whatever he needs to say. And if you're good at argument, ask anybody who was in a debate club in high school or college. You can argue anything. You really could. But one of the bizarre aspects of Shapiro's arguments for Israel was the amount of transference that was going on, in which everything that he said about Israel could also have been said about Iran and their position and what they thought. What you have to remember is that Israel struck first. Israel struck first. And so here's Shapiro starts talking about how Iran struck first. So there's gaslighting already. And then on top of that, you get this problem of, uh, you know, Shapiro explaining that Israel has this need for self-defense that he's pretending that Iran doesn't have. And of course, the reality is if you strike a country first and they counterattack, you don't get to claim that you were struck first and that you require a counterattack. But that is what they are doing. And it does feel like narcissistic control. It feels like the transference, the gaslighting, and that you see in narcissists. And one of the last things that really sort of sealed the deal for me, and again, I'd really like to know what you guys think, because I don't know exactly how this works when you start applying features like this to an entire nation. One of the things that narcissists like to do is they require what I call loyalty tests. And loyalty tests are when you have some kind of total capitulation and or humiliation of yourself in favor of them. And that's what I'm seeing here again. I'm seeing Israel saying that they will never stop striking Iran until Iran finally stops. I don't know if they're just saying like, you need to stop striking us. We need to get the last word. So if it stops now, Israel walks away and says, it's done. We are done. You're done. You stop it. We beat you. Okay. You need to acknowledge that. And that's something that narcissists do. The loyalty test of a narcissist looks different from the individual point of view, but not by much. Not by much. From a personal perspective, what it might look like is, if you are arguing with a narcissist, or you have some kind of fight with them, they are going to need the final word, and they are going to require some kind of apology. And the apology can't just be something performative, right? They are going to force you, if they have the power. And often what they're, narcissists are very good at finding ways to have power over people. They are going to force you not only to apologize, but to apologize with gusto. They want a performance. They want you acting. They want a smile on your face, and they may even tell you to do that. It's not terribly uncommon for a narcissist, especially if it's a parent to a child, where the child really does have zero element of power. It is not terribly uncommon for a parent to say something like, no, that's not good enough. I don't just want an apology. You better mean it. And I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about a regular parent telling siblings to make up with each other and say, mean it, and sorry, no. They might have very, very specific things that you need to do. You may be sitting there crying and weeping and tears are falling on the floor, and you'd better stop crying and you better put a smile on your face and say, sorry, because that's what they need. And it feels like that here. It feels like Israel isn't just happy with having defeated Iran in this grand scheme and gotten what they wanted. They wanted to destroy a Hamas leader. They took out an embassy, which is just, it's so against international code. There is no such thing as international law, and there is no real enforcement of it. But you don't do that. You just don't do that stuff. It's like killing messengers. It's so bad. It is such unbelievably bad behavior. And then Iran sends an extremely limited drone strike, and Israel walks away with no damage, no real damage that anybody can speak of. And that is where a rational country would say, okay, They had theirs, we had ours. We got what we wanted, they got what they wanted. Let's start working towards peace again. And instead, they're demanding this sort of loyalty test where it's not just where now we are going to attack you. We are going to attack you again. We are going to keep this going. You will be hurt by me. And we will not stop until you are done, where you are humiliated. End of discussion. You will be humiliated by the end of this. Because that's what loyalty tests are. That's the point of a loyalty test. The point of it is the humiliation of it. The idea is, I have total control over you, and you will capitulate to me every time. And I will never, ever stop until I get that. And if I don't get that, I will punish you forever. I will never forget what you did to me, because that's how they see these things. They only ever see themselves as victims. This is another aspect of narcissism that I'm seeing in Israel. They only ever see themselves as a victim. So when they tell you, stop your crying, and you put on a smile and you apologize to me with gusto, the reason that they're doing it isn't because they are just mustache twirling evildoers. They are actually, in all honesty, they believe that they are teaching you a valuable lesson. They are the righteous. They are the saint, the put upon mystical saint that has put up with your shenanigans long enough and is squeezing the devil out of you to cleanse you of the evil that they see. It really is. I mean, if that sounds insane, it is. I mean, it's a personality disorder. And that's really what I'm seeing a lot of here is the loyalty tests, the gaslighting, the victimhood. The narcissist, the thing about a narcissist is they will scream in your face while you are stone cold silent that you need to stop interrupting them and that you need to calm down. Right? And so when I see Israel constantly explaining to other countries that if you don't settle down and do everything I say exactly the way I say it, I don't really know how else to explain this except to say that perhaps, maybe it's just the leadership. Maybe the leadership are just narcissists, and that narcissism has completely taken over the Israeli government. I wouldn't be surprised if that was true of every government at this point, but there does seem to be some kind of bizarre toxic militarism in Israel and in America. There's a lot of Western countries you could say that of. And of course, there's plenty of non-Western countries as well, but I don't really know how to explain it yet. And this is really more of a thought experiment. I don't think I'm going to push the issue too far today, but it's something to think about. It is very strange, isn't it? That it never seems enough. That nobody can walk away anymore. That's all. That no one can walk away with what they've got and be happy with what's happened. They always have to win 100% or not at all. It's the path to destruction here is very clear. I don't know what their end game is either, because obviously, America doesn't even really have its back. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of talks are happening behind the scenes, but it doesn't feel of all the times to do this. This is probably one of the worst. You're in the midst of a genocide of Arabs that could kick off some kind of mass revolt. You could become very weak at home. You could become very weak as you have just created probably quite a few insurgents let's be honest, at home and abroad, who are looking at you and wanting nothing but revenge. And you start attempting to kick off a war with one of the largest countries in the Middle East. I know what they're doing. I mean, it makes, again, it makes sense on some level because obviously they have to be thinking to a certain degree that by kicking off a war with between Iran and America, they could distract from the genocide at home and be safe. But uh, America does not have a real interest in going back into war in the Middle East. We're running out of ammunition. We're running out of missiles. We've given it all to Ukraine. And it really does feel like maybe Israel thinks that this is their last shot to get some of that ammo and missiles, that maybe they can figure out a way to reconfigure our economy so that we are just cranking out all this stuff, and thereby we can supply Ukraine, we can supply Israel, and both of them can get what they want. But the likelihood of that is not high. It's not high. We are really, really on the precipice of collapse ourselves at this point. Things are not going well. Food is too expensive. We are having a lot of markets shutting down as we speak. Shutting down as we speak. And a lot of salesmen will tell you that. A lot of salesmen will tell you right now, people are not buying what they used to. They are staying at home. They are staying silent. They are waiting for the election. And when you have sort of a extended lame duck period like we're about to have, because that's what it feels like, that's for sure. I don't think anybody's looking to invest right now. I think everybody's looking to wait until the election this year, and I think that's a lot of time wasted. But it is what it is. And I don't know what Israel is doing. Like the only way to explain it is by just explaining it through mania. That this is a sort of personality disorder that Israel has now. There are a lot of people who are describing it as that, as a sort of governmental cultural rot, I guess you would say. Cultural rot. And I just wanted to point it out. I just wanted to point out some of the things that I noticed, and not just in Ben Shapiro, by the way, just in the actions of Israel and what they're doing. It doesn't make much sense, and they would be wise to end this. They would be wise to start making friends. They really do need to. They need to do it either way, but they have got to start making friends.